Okay, good morning, everybody. I hope you're excited for the day. I sure am. Had a hard time sleeping last night, actually. Woke up at 4 in the morning. I was like, I'm ready. It's still dark outside, and I was like, I'm ready to go run. I set a goal a few months ago to I needed to get a little bit more healthy. I know my body. I was not quite where I needed to be, and I want to get back to running some half marathons. I used to do that a lot. And so I just set a goal. And it really just reminded me this morning, I didn't really feel like getting out and running this morning, I got to be honest. Probably because I didn't get enough sleep last night. But you guys know Mel Gibbons, who says, don't rely on your emotions because they'll often let you down. Like don't wait to feel like it. You're not always going to feel like it. But I'm proud to say that this morning was 14 straight days of running. Now, I'm counting and measuring what matters, and I'm trying to be daily disciplined in, what I want for that particular area of my life and that goal. So simply put, all areas of our lives, we have a daily discipline and consistency to it. We all know that that's really the secret sauce, isn't it? All right. So what about if you're not in that zone yet? How do you get in that zone, and how do you get out of your head and just do what, you should anyway? I think it really is just forcing yourself to get into action and not overthinking it. Like don't wait to feel or think about it, just go and do it. And things tend to work out. You get momentum that way and start feeling like you're accomplishing things. And, as the saying goes, so marathon goes across Canada, and he says, how did you do that? How did you run one pole at a time? So real simple thing. It's a little different, I think, for all of us. Find your thing that keeps you disciplined daily, and you'll accomplish whatever you want in life and in business. Let me switch gears a little bit. Grab some notes. Look, we're going to be on page. We're going to go 101, and I want to talk about 10 ways to improve marketing presentation. So Coaching Manual 101. It says study market. I wanted to add to a discussion we had about 2 months ago on this. Before I do that, let's see how well we know or have remembered the 6 principles in which to win friends and influence people. Dale Carnegie. Let's see if you know any of the 6 principles. Okay, so let's go to chat and throw out anything that you can remember about 6 ways that we get people really to be friendly with us, trust us. What are they? Okay, it's your turn. Just hit the chat. 6 ways to make people like you. I don't know if that's really phrased very well. I'm going to force you to like me. How about 6 ways that cause people to like you? Would probably be phrased better. 6 ways to cause people to like you. What are they? Okay, we're going down. The best one on the list is what Julie said there. Call them by name. Let's see, which one is that? That is, made so many notes on this page. That's number 3. All right, so Julie's answer is number 3. Josh and Dawn are saying listen. I wonder if that's found. Yeah, it's number 4. And it's also, along with listen, is encourage others to talk about themselves. Okay. The number 5 page is actually within what you're saying there, be genuine, which is talk in other people's interests. I think genuinely be interested in them. I'm generally interested. You think of anything else? Oh, John's got it. Smile. John Lucky's got it. Smile. So here are the 6, starting from number 1. If you want to just quick reminder, you want to jot this down. Number 1, become generally interested. Number 2, just remember in the listing presentation or marketing presentation, this is all about question asking and digging deeper. Tell me more about that. Can you explain more about that? So we have complete clarity. Number 2 is guilty of smiling. My best example of this is actually some church meetings where I think the meetings went long and you kind of looked around, you're like, we are at church. why are you not smiling? It's like, was it been a long Sunday already? And I would often say, hey, you guys are happy, right? So let's smile. All right. Number 3, remember that the person's name is the sweetest sound in any language to them. And so call them by name. Arnold Stringham years ago challenged me to memorize everyone's name in a classroom, and I was very, very, very bad at it at the beginning. I learned something even if I attempted to get everyone's name, people just assumed I could get everyone's name. It was kind of like I had to start off being perfect. Like, the expectation was you're not, no idiot would attempt to memorize everyone's name and then get them wrong if you couldn't do it, right? So I had about 6 months of teaching classes where it was really, really bad. Know their name. Number 4, be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves is number 4. Number 5 is to talk in terms of other people's interests. So we're looking at it from their point of view. This is so tied to reason and why in everything we do. So the reason they're buying, reason they're selling, keep our eye on the problems we're solving by them having a new place to live and what that means to them and their family. That's the reason, that's the why, that's their interest, okay? The last one is make others feel important, and we, of course, do this sincerely, okay? Sincerely. The one thing I have a challenge with, because you want people to kind of get to know you, and this is the challenge. How do you balance being a good listener, but not like hijacking the conversation where you're starting to talk about you? You want them to talk about them. You see some commonality. You want to connect the commonality, but you want to start talking all about you. I struggle with that, because I want to go, hey, we have the same interests. And that happened to me once, but sometimes I can come off like one-upping someone. Have you ever noticed someone like you go, hey, I got 2 wisdom teeth out, and they're like, oh, that's nothing. I got 4, and then so I got my jaw replaced. Well, I had open heart surgery. And if you've ever heard Brian Regan do the comedy thing on this, he says, when Neil Armstrong went to the moon, he won every single contest in any conversation ever, because no one's story would ever, well, I did walk on the moon. So anyway, yeah, tough crowd. Notice how everyone's just laughing at everything I'm saying. It's tough crowd. Wednesday mornings, man, you better bring it. All right, a few smiles. All right, well, I love you guys. Don't forget, we're all about people. It's a people business. And let's not forget that the reason we wanted to master our marketing presentation is because we care about the relationship that we have, and we want to build trust in that process when we meet people, okay? So those 6 things, commit them to memory and really practice those, I think will really help you, okay? All right. I think I'm going to share a screen and go over these 10 tips, but let me make sure. I have been shopping for some crazy cover band. You guys, yeah, I'm not going to show you. We needed to look the part, but some of this stuff is nuts. Like my wife is like, you're not wearing that on stage. No, you are not wearing that. And I agreed. So anyway, that was up on my screen. So there you go. All right, here we go. I'm going to share a screen and let's go over 10 ways to improve our marketing presentation. Look familiar for some of you? Okay. Number 1 is my best tip. Sorry, dry mouth this morning. I mentioned this on sales meeting. Make sure you get this point and you get it really, really well. when you're thinking about the market and you're thinking about pricing property, I want you to think more than area and price. That's the obvious, frankly, kind of amateur way to look at how we view a property. What's the unique thing about it that stands out? That thing becomes its market. So compare it to other properties with similar amenities like that. Okay, if it's very common about it, then of course we can look at other ways to address value. Okay, and it's really, this can be very subjective. Value is a subjective way. Remember what Alan Dalton said about our ability to affect price and the value of a property? It wasn't just the comps tell us what the price is, right? There's other ways we can influence the end result of the sale. Okay, say that again. We can influence the end result of the sale and the net bottom line for the seller. Okay. The number one question that every agent is asked is, what is the value of my property? What will it sell for? Or how long will it take? Those are the number one questions they have for us. They want your opinion. You can't just go at it with a CMA and comps. So that's what this is about. When we're talking about a marketing presentation, they're going to want answers to that. And how do we drive the highest net? Okay. So I'm with us memorizing how to communicate, and like if you become scripted, you're not authentic and you're going to be salesy. So instead of saying closing someone, why don't we just say resolution? You know, that's a better way to say it. Let's come to a resolution about what our plan is. Like, are we moving forward? Or if we are, it's because they're educated, informed, and they made a choice. Okay. So, let's leave our egos at the curb, right? I know we all have goals, but our goal should be just focus on helping and serving other people. Let's not be salesy. Number 3, we need to think about what the shifting challenges are that we're facing now and today. And right now, we're going to have a more scrupulous buyer. We're going to have a more picky buyer. We are not going to get people who just, beg to be the one chosen and out of the bidding process. Okay. And they'll do anything. So I really like this environment. I think this bodes well for at Berkshire Hathaway. The harder the problem, the more the solutions are realized, Okay. So value happens after the solution is fact that, the real professionals are going to rise above all of this. Okay. So that's what number 1 is all about, is this point about expanding our view of market. And I have someone who asked me a question like, well, Will, what kinds of talent? I'm going to be muzzled again. I'm not going to just answer this. I'm going to show them in the contract. Let's say they say something like, what are buyers going to inspect? Right? What are they going to inspect? It's a great question. Don't just answer it. Let me show you in the purchase agreement. Don't say Repsy. Let me show you in the purchase agreement where it speaks to that. Okay. And a Zoom, or you're on some kind of digital presentation, have the Repsy ready to go. Have your samples ready to go. Okay. Use them as visuals when you present. You'll be a better educator and a better communicator when you speak to that. Okay. Let's always remember we're in the people business. Okay. So, whatever your intent is can be sensed by people. So, you got to get your head right. I'm all for personal goals on what you want to accomplish, but the lead train, all the first dom is to really solve the problem for a client. Stop sharing for a second. I told you guys a story about the bass guitar, right? Remember, the thing that built trust was Tyler in New Jersey, who said to me, I could just send you this guitar, but I want it to be right. Remember? And he says, why don't you go out and find it's a lower quality bass guitar, but it has the same measurements. Why don't you see if you can find that? Why don't you, hold that, play that. If that's comfortable, then come back. In other words, let's not push people to push, and you'll try up advice that might be, hey, maybe we should take our time on this. Maybe you should talk to your kid, to your employer. Why don't you guys give it a weekend? What if you did that? What would that effect be? Now, see how that is so different than some script from some coach somewhere who's telling you to close them. You see what I'm saying? Now I understand the last one there gets the listing. Believe me, this is my 31st year in real estate. The last one there gets the listing. Okay? So if I just told him to think about it over the weekend, because that might be best coming in and taking my listing, right? And you can see how that could be sensed, right? Pretty soon they're saying, well, the reason why Will's talking this way is because he wants the listing. And what I'm advocating for here is that you want what's best for them. If they say, gosh, I think we want to interview a few other people, you should do that. That's it's a big decision. And then I could dig into, tell me something. What might you hope to discover by interviewing someone else? While I'm here, can we talk through these things? See, I'm like, tell me more about that. Back to questions, being genuinely interested in people. All that ties in, okay? So this is the Berkshire way, okay? This is the Berkshire way. Some of the things we have to undo. So as soon as Tyler said, let's get it right before I send it to you, what happened? Remember, there was another one in Oregon. I didn't even call them. I want to interview other people. You see what I'm saying? I didn't even call. I already found the guy. I found the guy I could trust. And it's a lot of money. Look, I don't know these people. This happens all the time in real estate, especially in Park City, probably a lot in St. George, probably a lot in Moab, because people aren't there in our town. Like, I'm not in New Jersey, right? I need someone I can trust. So it's all about building trust. So don't be afraid to say things like, take your time. You guys think about it. Let's make sure you do what's best for you. Okay. That will win. That will win. You can tell I'm passionate about that, right? Sorry, I don't want to be preachy. I don't mean to be. I really just think that that's a happy life, you guys. Okay. We can't be about us like that, And I went through the 90s, even teaching this. I can tell you closing scripts, when someone says no, step one. And then I learned when someone says, I want to think about it, I go, I think it's a really big decision. You should think about it, and all of a sudden, look what happened, right? A lot of our agents will tell me things like, geez, Will, I didn't even really do a marketing presentation because they just came in and said, I want to list with you. That happens a lot. You know why that does happen? Is because the level of trust, right? They just go, we just go and end up right on the exclusive right to sell. We haven't gone through it because of the high level of trust. So we're gonna earn that every day. We're gonna keep that every day. Okay, back to share screen. I hope this is good for you guys. Are you head nods, please? Anyone, or am I just talking to my green dot? Well, thank you for smiling, and thank you for the head nod. I appreciate it. So that's the whole lead with heart. I could probably talk about that for an hour, Okay. Number 6, avoid over promising. You'll say things, gosh, we can do everything. Just edit your words. I get overexcited and I'll sometimes say things and I think, wait a minute, that's not exactly right. So just edit it right on the spot. If you get a little over the top, then just come back and just be a little bit more real. Explain what you mean. Okay. So, and let's not be afraid to be honest about complexities. This is going back to that slow down and talk about problem. Okay. Number 7, I think owning your marketing presentation in a high level is all owning being a better communicator. So that is where we should practice. That's what we should rehearse, is how do I communicate better? How do I make things more simple? How do I get back into complexities? Those are 2 different principles that are very important. So I need to have a simple message, right? And then I need to have the detailed message. How do I use visuals better? How do I tie this into why? I hope you're writing this down under number 7. How do I speak the language of benefit? When I speak the language of why and benefit and wisdom, those are all the same things. It's the reason we do something. Okay, so like when you say something like syndication is really important in real estate, we get great images syndicated out. First of all, you're using a term, syndication, they may not understand. If you're not speaking to a visual, they may not understand it. So you may be saying it fancy, but you're not really educating them. Okay, so tie that back to why that matters. There's a lot of websites. People find themselves searching real estate on a lot of. This is all about exposure, guys. More exposure, more eyes equals more showings, more offers, and it goes like that. And that's the speaking. This can really have an effect on the amount of time that we're inconvenienced on the market. There's the why. And that ties into one of the core benefits, right, that we've talked about before. Okay. All right. Number 8, know more about the property than the seller. This is a really, really hard thing to do because they've lived there forever. You're going to dig deeper into that. Look, a lot of our agents in Park City are experts at this. They know more about that property than the seller even did. And I get the value. Right, and tell you about the finish work that's done in the property. Stay away from things like property lines. Never stand on the deck and say the fence is the property line. Don't do that. That'd be a lawsuit. We should know a lot about the property. Okay, all the details about it. So take your time in interviewing the seller on getting it all right. If you find things they don't know, there's a battlefront. Okay, so know more about the property. Number 9 is a huge one for me. I'd like to see us as a company do a lot better with number 9 here, samples of marketing pieces. I think you should always keep your brochures from every listing you ever had, put them in a 3-ring binder, carry them around with you. I know I've got a few people who know. I'm going to give some credit here. The first time I ever saw this as a way to present, I was walking by Susie Martindale's BMW, and I happened to glance in the back seat, and there were 3-ring binders everywhere. It must have been like 8 of them. Some that were like 4 inches tall, all sizes. And I couldn't help but ask her, like, what's with all the binders? And she just says, oh gosh, I just keep every marketing piece. And then I realized that the idea of kind of an alternate close, which I don't like the word close, but the idea of having choice for a seller and seeing examples and what to choose was a great way to communicate. So it would go like this. Let's suppose that the listing I have is an amazing great room. Well, I happen to have another listing that we took, or the firm took, the brokerage took, that had an amazing great room. So look at the layout and the style of this one versus this one. And I'm flipping through these. First of all, the piece mesmerizes people. I don't know what it is about looking at real estate. It just does. they go, oh, cabinets, this, that, the other, the tile, they get into it. And next thing you know, you're just having to ask, I think this one's a good choice, but what do you guys think? And how about this one? And they go, yeah, I like that one. All right, well, you just listed the property. Because they're starting to make decisions with you at the helm, right? So I like that. I like having samples and show them, don't tell them. Matter of fact, it's a great rug, just so you guys know. It's called Show Me, Don't Tell Me. All right, number 10. You're likely to already know what you need to improve in your marketing presentation, so don't let it haunt you anymore. I'm putting you on the couch. What is it that's hanging over your head? You're like, I wish I could. I wish I knew. If I only could. What is it? So write that down. It reminds me of this funny I have here. If a man tells a woman he's going to do something, he's going to do it. Okay, he doesn't have to be reminded every 6 months. Look, if an agent's going to improve their marketing presentation, you have to remind them. They'll get to it. Right? All right. Was that a fun tour? That was pretty fast. I hope you got a lot out of that. Let's go to page 101 in the coaching manual, if you've got it handy. We're going to marry a couple of concepts together. This is really about tracking what the market does after we take a listing. I've already talked about number 1, but you could do statistical analysis, I guess, over around number 1. I'm not going to spend any time on that one. I think I've probably beat that drum enough. Let's go backwards and start with number 4 on page 101. So this is watch and track your competition. So I'd really like to know if we're 30 days in the market already, then you should be able to answer the question is what other similar properties in their market, remember amenity market, price market, area market, okay? You should be able to answer this question. Has any other competing property gone under contract, yes or no? And if they did, take a look at their price and, what could we learn not only from the price perspective, do we need an adjustment there, but there's something about the condition of the property, the location, what amenity did it have in addition to? And I think we need to have this review period with our sellers about what has gone on. In the live sales meeting in Salt Lake yesterday, one of our agents, I think it was Bettina, who said, I don't want to help other listings sell. What did she mean by that? So she was presenting a property, right? And she was wanting some help. And she goes, I really don't want to help other listings sell, right? So it's all in this, philosophy that buyers shop and compare with what is active to each other. So if our listing hasn't sold and another under contract is going under contract, we should know why, right? We should really own that, okay? It's a simple one to say, but you're going to have to be disciplined enough to take the time to do it and shed some light on what the competition is really doing. Are you helping them sell, or can we turn that around and have them help you sell? Okay, just looking at some notes here. I think we got that one. We should be tracking all showings, and the first showing is online. So can you give a report that shows the number of views? And are you able to do that? Really, the in-person showing is a result of multiple times being online. I mean, that's just the world we're in right now. 20 years ago, that would just seem insane, right? I mean, people there just wasn't the ability, the technology for them to look at all these images on any property at any time on multiple platforms, cell phones and laptops and, iPads and things like that. But they're all seeing these properties before they go physically there. Clearly, we know if we're getting second showings that we probably need to be patient. And hey, I think the medication most of our listings need right now is probably patience. But I would hate to think that we've overpriced on a market that was 6 months ago or something like that. And we're just going to think that we're going to be patient and ride that out. And that's not going to help because we're going to sell other people's properties for them. That's why we have to track the market after we get the listing. Okay. We should be doing, these analysis ongoing. Okay. Okay. I'm going to pause for a minute and let's open up the mic to you guys. I got 2 more tips I want to share before we go. We've got plenty of time, but what are ways? How about let's do this? Let me pose a couple of questions. What kind of tip could we give each other about what you've done or are currently doing that has improved your marketing presentation? It's your time. I'll be quiet for a minute. I promise.
I always ask my buyers and sellers, what's your preferred form of communication? Call, text, email. And then I ask them how many times, especially for my sellers, how many times each week do you want me to give you an update? Twice a week, 3 times a week, once a week, because it's different for everyone. Some of my sellers are like, oh, only tell me if something changes. And others are like, I want an update every day. So I always ask them that. And they like that I'm thinking about that before I've ever gotten the listing.
Nice. I like that, Sherry. Thank you. Who else? Don't be afraid, you guys. Come on, let's help each other. You'll be glad you did.
I have a couple things, Will.
Yeah, Sandy, go ahead.
I like to ask them what they're looking for in their agent, and if they've had previous experience with realtors helping them, what they would have liked their realtor to do differently.
Nice. All right, who's next? I'm writing this down. These are good things.
I will typically ask what they want life to look like 60 to 90 days from now.
Okay. I like that, Joel. If you guys have talked to me, I like to say, wave your magic wand sometimes. And that's kind of just stop thinking about all the complexities and how we're going to get there and whatever else. Just imagine that you could make it like you want. And what would that look like? I really like that. And so when you're building these great questions like this, and you write it down and become the things that they want, like you're agreeing and you're stipulating to what they have asked you to be, there's no argument. You are exactly what they wanted, they wished for, right? So you'll get people saying things like, well, I don't know, we just really connected, All right, what else? Great things.
Sorry, Will.
Yeah, go ahead.
One more thought. I actually had a client that I'd never met or anything. First conversation over the phone. They were looking for an agent to help them list their townhouse. One of the things that they pointed out to me is they really appreciated how many questions I ended up asking them compared to the other agent that they had talked to. They just felt like they just showed them and told them all the things instead of allowing them to have the opportunity to answer.
Nice. That's great. All right, who else? Best thing you do in your marketing presentation. I'd love to hear from our veterans and our brokers, you guys.
Debbie's got her hand raised.
Hi.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Debbie.
Hi, everybody. I think it's a really helpful thing to ask the sellers to look at it from the buyer's perspective. And especially when they are pushing back on, a list of things that they need to do to the house. I I suggest that they look at other listings online and see what they like and don't like in photos and listings. And then let's think about how you would look at your house if you were, thinking about buying it. How did you look at it when you bought it? And I think it just gives them a different perspective and a different point of view for making decisions. And I found that they're much more open to doing things that I tell them that are important.
Nice. That's great, Debbie. I love that.
Thanks.
All right, who else? Come on, don't be shy. Come on, you're real estate agents. You love to talk. I'm sure everyone will love your idea. Let's hear it.
When I first get to the house, I have them walk me around and tell me things that they love about it. And then when I sit down for the presentation, I say, I have this big presentation prepared for you, but really, like, I just want to get to know you and you tell me what's important to you and put that aside.
Okay. So all of that falls in being the expert of the property. I mean, imagine if we just didn't get the point. The best thing about the property was, at least from the seller's perspective, and we completely missed it. That would be a horrible way to start that relationship. Instead, we really become very, very interested, acutely interested in the property. So we become the expert in it. We understand what they liked about it. We understand its best features. That becomes the amenity market that we're going to use later, right, as our analysis. So I like that a lot. Okay, what else?
I have a thought or a comment.
Yeah, Julie.
It's not regarding a listing presentation. It's more of how I raised my kids. And since they were little, I would always tell them that life is an interview. Every day you're in an interview. So always be on, because you don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know who you're going to talk to, and you just never know what's around the corner. So I always said that to them, and it paid off well for them. So now I'm trying to do it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
I've got a son-in-law who, he wants me to talk to him today about a new job, and he's got an idea about what he wants to do. He wants to get a new job, upgrade his job. And, I think honesty and authenticity will win over being perfect or, dressed up or whatever. Like, and I'm not talking about physically dressed up. I'm like, if you dressed yourself up and how you're presenting yourself, and it's not really you, that can be a problem. There's a TED Talk on this. So like the most watched TED Talks and why. How did these guys get, 20 million, 50 million views of these TED Talks? And they weren't all perfect, you guys. Okay, they missed sentences and words, and their visuals were not as timely, and their story may not have been perfectly, told. Maybe they didn't get it right? But the person presenting was authentic. They were just themselves. In other words, you don't pretend to be something that you're not. Don't pretend to know every answer to every question, right? When we do that, that and they sense it, that people run from that. right? So I like that idea when I go to an interview, and this is what I'm going to tell my son-in-law. I mean, he's a great kid. He's awesome. You know, he doesn't have to have all the answers. I mean, why not go like this? Like Mary said these things. Like, why not go to an employer and say, listen, I don't know much about your business, but could you tell me what some of the problems are that you're coping with? And I wonder if I could help. Like, that's really why I'm here, right? Like, what can I help with? Which would be very much like the listing agent saying, explain to me where we are today and where you want to go. And what does that look like, right? Joel's point, what does it look like in 60, 90 days? And let's talk about all the things that are in the way. And then let me see if I can help, you know, and some things I'm going to know the answers to, and others I'm going to look to my resources and my company for the answer. So I really like that. Mike, you got something?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I may have missed some of it, and you may have covered this subject already. I took a few phone calls, but I'm interested to hear how agents are handling, you know, why should I pick you over another agent? Let's say you've gone through your marketing material, and this is the moment of impact when you actually have to defend who you are as a real estate agent, or defend how good you are at your job, or present your history and why you're an expert. I'm curious to hear from agents how they do that, what their strategy is, because to me, if you're not really prepared for that response, that's sort of can be a do or die situation. And I know that is not asked frequently. Like, you know, I think a lot of times you can go through a normal listing presentation and marketing material and showing some deals you've done in the past can maybe the majority of the time get it done. But I have in my career been challenged multiple times about, you know, well, okay, what about you? Why are you so good? And I've been challenged directly multiple times with almost that exact phrase. And let me tell you, I don't know that I've blown it more than 50% of the time, but you know, close to that number, because I feel like I realize now how important that is, just to be prepared and confident for that response. But I don't know that for the majority of my career that I was properly prepared for it.
Awesome. Okay, guys, it's coming down to some moment in time, and they say, really, why should we be choosing you over other agents? How are you going to handle that one?
I think this is especially difficult because, you know, this is a place that most humans aren't comfortable with. And that's when you have to brag about yourself a little bit. I mean, in your brain, you're thinking, I have to brag about myself.
I have an idea.
Hit it, Debbie.
So one thing I have done, I don't know that I've ever had a potential client do this, but I always offer to give them references. And I have a list of clients that I have asked if they wouldn't mind getting a call from a potential client. And I like that for two reasons. One, it's a real reference, but two, it's a way to connect with my past clients and reinforce that positive relationship.
I like that a lot.
Nice job.
Linda says, is it really bragging if it's just honesty in your value? No, definitely not. But I think, you know, I think most people are raised and hear that talking about yourself in a positive light, you're treading on possibly bragging, and that probably isn't good. That was my overall point.
You know, I think you don't, what we're trying to do is not necessarily bragging, but we're trying to show our confidence. And so I think there's a big difference. So if you're bragging, you're boasting about some, you know, something you have that nobody else has. But confidence is, everybody is attracted to confidence in another human being. And especially if you're about to make yourself completely vulnerable by listing your house and putting it in the hands, putting that transaction into the hands of somebody that maybe you don't know. before. And so I think that's the way to look at it, is it's not bragging about it. It's just showing your confidence, and maybe give a few examples of, these are a couple things I'm really proud of, and this was a big challenge, and this is how I dealt with it, and this is the outcome. And the other thing I think is really important, Linda Seacrest taught me this, is don't ever try to have all the answers. If somebody asks a question and you don't know, say, I don't know. And I actually use this word or this phrase a lot. I say, I don't know the answer to that, but I have the resources to find pretty much any answer to any question. And I have the resources through my brokerage and through my connections and networking to find the right person to do a repair or whatever. So that's what you can count on me for.
I don't know.
Any-
Well, what I normally do in that situation is I explain to the client that, hey, you're going to be dealing with me 100% of the time. I'm here. I will answer my phone. There's many other agents out there that won't. If you've been online to see who's doing all the volume, they typically are teams. You're not going to be dealing with the head honcho of the team. They're going to typically pawn you off to somebody else that doesn't have any experience. And when you start explaining that to them, that, hey, I'm the one you're going to be talking to, not some other low-level assistant on my team. Some of these teams, hey, I only want to be contacted 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I won't answer the phone on Saturday and Sunday. And they're the same ones when you try to present an offer to them, you can't find them. And so you just pour yourself out and tell them, hey, I'm the one you can count on.
Yeah. Yeah. For you guys who don't know, there's some large teams in the St. George market that have, I mean, that's why I think the field is so ripe in St. George, is they're run horribly. I mean, Rachel, if they were run like your teams, we'd really have our hands full because the way that you handle, responsibility. But the ones that are in St. George the more I dig into it, we've got 2 guys that want to leave there and can't get out because they're contracted in. And so, it's a tough thing. I got to answer.
So
can I go ahead? I'll give one more comment. I'm going to answer this. You guys don't leave this call yet. Okay. I got to tell you how to answer Mike's concern. Okay. Go ahead.
The way I always answer it, well, if I may, is I always tell them, thank you. That is a really great question. And I appreciate you asking, because that means that you're sincerely considering me. And then I just turned around and asked them, is there anything that you have seen or that I've shown you that you don't feel would add value to what I do? And then I just zip my lip and listen. And then I ask them, what have I done that you feel will really help you? And it's those positives that I address and kind of go from there.
I like that. The best thing about what Sherry said is she's acknowledged the concern in positivity. So I love that. Respond, but let me give you where I go. Mike, maybe you could have the dialogue with me. You be the person who's going to ask me, hey, what's different, right? Why you? Okay. So I need someone to have the discussion with, but before I go into this wording, got to realize something. And okay, so if I'm talking to Mike Fondario, I know Mike Fondario. Okay, my responses, I can't help myself, frankly, because I've been properly trained to communicate with the person who's asked me the question. So in these coaching sessions, and we say, oh, let's role play, let's this, that, and the other. You know what we miss? You can't take the cookie cutter response and throw it into a response to someone and say, oh, that's going to fit them, right? I mean, this is where authenticity will always win out. Like, just have a conversation with someone, right? So if I'm looking at Mike and Mike tells me what's the difference, I'm going, okay, I can't think about like with Mike because Mike knows too much about the industry. So Mike's going to pretend to be someone who does not know anything about the industry. And now I'm going to communicate to Mike in the style he wants me communicated, pretending to be someone that's not educated in the business. Do you understand what I'm trying to get at here? Please don't lose sight that we've talked to people and you know these people and they're all different and how they want to communicate. So let's communicate to their style and their level. Nevertheless, let's give it a shot. You ready? Here we go. Mike says, what's different? And I say, that's a really great question, Mike. And frankly, maybe I'm not the agent for you, but can I give you maybe just let's take an overview of this business. First of all, you may not know this, but half the agents that are licensed right now don't do any production at all. They've got licenses for various reasons. So that's half of the agents. The other half make decisions on where they're going to affiliate. I don't know if you knew this, but real estate agents can go with any brokerage they like, right? So where we end up is our choice. And look, this is where you explain that you chose a brokerage that has more services and resources for them. Shop and compare that. And frankly, it's end of discussion. It's game over because you chose to be with Berkshire Hathaway. Then you add in all the other things you do, which also really, really matter. And there's only one you, and there's only one Berkshire Hathaway. It's game over. That's a simple way to answer it. Now, of course, I'd go into what all that means. What does that mean when we say, well, Berkshire Hathaway? And what does that mean? It's not just a brand. It's not just a flag. It's not just a logo. Okay, there's resources behind it. Money is spent. I mean, look at the staff and how much they cost. The leadership team, what they cost. Look at the resources, the technology, what that costs. And all of those can be leveraged to the benefit of the seller client. It's all about netting them the most. That's why we do what we do. That is our core proficiency, and our sole purpose is to help them net the most. And we use these resources, we bear on them to get them the best results. And that's why we do it. Now, I'm saying this like this to you guys to pound it in that we understand that. Of course, the style to a client is a lot softer. I mean, they don't know anything about this industry, you guys. They don't know how it works. A lot of them think a license is a license. A broker is a broker. So explain the difference, dive into it. And this is going to all be helping them get what they want, I'm okay if you mention we're the largest, biggest, and best, but boy, don't camp out there. Don't make it about, let's not do this. The reason we're big is because that's kind of what Debbie's saying. Look at the references. There's 6,000 transactions a year at Berkshire Hathaway. Gotten to be very, very practiced at this. A lot of resources. We don't always know where these transactions are going to go. And heaven forbid it becomes a rocky road. If it does, I've got the resources to help us. We want to lower legal risk. It's a big, big reason why they hire us is to lower legal risk. We have the resources to do that. There's a lot of different veins we could go down, video marketing and digital marketing and networks and, our bodies of agents and referrals and relocation. I mean, my goodness, there's so many things there that benefit these, and the choice you made, and I think I might even say, look, I didn't choose to go to a broker that was the cheaper place for me to hang my license. I simply chose a brokerage that was the best for my clients. And Berkshire Hathaway was that brokerage. And that is the truth. Every once in a while we get agents out there who don't want to need a brokerage. It's a weird dynamic. It's very strange. It's rare, very, very strange. Because if they need it, then they become dependent on it. And somewhere in their history, when they became dependent on something, they got let down. And I'm, of course, I'm sorry for that, but it's a really self-sabotaging way. Look, we're all in this together, right? It is a us and a we, right? We are team here. And I approach it that way. And I think that's humbling also. you know, you don't have to have all the answers, but your team does, right? And you don't have to do everything because your team does. And I think that's where it is. We got a lot. Look, we got a great thing going. You know, got a great thing going. And my goodness, let's go out there and save someone from the trepidations that they're going to have with another choice. You know, you can be the solution of what's ailing them. And that's why I say all the time, let's go out there and find someone to help, because they need you. They really need you. And hey, thanks for the discussion. Everyone who weighed in today, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And Kristen, I appreciate your comment in the chat. And Joe, thanks for handling the recording today. And anyway, I really, really appreciate you guys taking the time out. Remember, you become what you study, right? And this is all part of our study. I hope that you feel lifted more than when we started, and that you feel some confidence to go forward and help someone, because we've got the resources, the best in the business. Let's go solve the problem. Make it about them, not about you. Become a good listener, know their names, smile a lot, be generally interested in other people. And boy, you're going to do very, very well. And more than anything, guys, I think it's a path of happiness and fulfillment. And these are all tied into that, right? And there's a better way out there. And fortunately enough, it's at Brookshire. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, you guys. Have a wonderful day. Joy, we can stop recording.